Okay, so the second part of photosynthesis after the light reactions is the Calvin cycle. So the Calvin cycle is responsible for carbon fixation. Carbon fixation is the bonding of carbon and oxygen to make an organic compound. So we're taking carbon dioxide and we're making organic compounds. Now, the actual final product that comes out of the Calvin cycle is G3P. That is just a 3-carbon sugar. So remember, glucose is C6, has 6 carbons, but this is just 3 carbons. So a bunch of these G3Ps will then come together to be made into other sugars or carbohydrates or even amino acids. They actually can make a lot of stuff. So the Calvin cycle is producing a 3-carbon sugar, and it's happening in the stroma of the chloroplast, right? So the light reactions happened in the thylakoid membrane, and now we're in the stroma, the liquid that's around the thylakoids. So for the carbon cycle, several steps, right? We start with this compound that is a 5-carbon compound called RUBP. It's floating out in the stroma. Carbon dioxide comes in through the pores of the leaf and into the cells and into the chloroplast and into the stroma. Rubisco is an enzyme just sitting around waiting for that carbon dioxide and the RUBP to get together, right? And it's going to help create a carbon compound called 3-PGA. So this is a 3-carbon compound with a phosphate. The next step is that 3-PGA is going to use those products from the light reactions. It's going to use an ATP and the energy to do this. And then it's going to take the 2 electrons from NADPH and the H, the hydrogen ion, from it. And 3-PGA will now be G3P. And so NADP plus is left over and it's going to go back to the light reactions. And the ADP plus phosphate is also going to go right back over to the light reactions to continue the cycle. So now we've made this thing called G3P. 20% of the G3P is going to come out of the cycle, is going to come out of the Calvin cycle. And then a bunch of these G3Ps are going to be put together with other enzymes to make whatever the plant needs. So it'll make glucose, sucrose, fructose, cellulose, starch, lipids, proteins, nucleic acids. All can be made from G3P. A plant is literally taking carbon dioxide out of the air and then growing and making itself. That's what plants do. Now, the rest of it, the 80% of the G3P actually just keeps going in the Calvin cycle. So it kind of comes right back around. And then it's going to take an ATP to change G3P into RUBP. And now we're back around. And so then it just cycles around. One comes out and everybody else kind of goes into the cycle party. Now, what I'm explaining to you is what a majority of plants on Earth do. And those plants are called C3 plants because this is the Calvin cycle that they do. So we're going to talk about different kinds of plants later, but this is what most plants do. So this is, again, the overview. This is the simplified overview without numbers. But if we were to put in the real numbers that are happening, what really happens is that 3 RUBPs, and 3 carbon dioxides are going to combine to make 6 3-PGAs. And then it's going to take 6 ATPs and 6 NADPHs to make 6 G3Ps. One of the 6 comes out, the other 5 go around. And the other 5 with 3 ATPs will be made into 3 RUBPs. So this is the actual numbers of what is happening. And this picture actually shows it a little better in terms of trying to picture those carbons and those phosphates and what is happening and how are they kind of different from each other. So this is a great example, a picture just to look at and to try to talk through as to what's happening. I like the visual of the carbon cycle here. Oh, the Calvin cycle. I keep saying carbon cycle. The Calvin cycle. So here's another just like general picture of the Calvin cycle and the steps that are going on in a simplified format. So there's many ways to kind of like look at this and then learn the steps and what's going on in the Calvin cycle. But just remember, we're inside the chloroplast and that the light reactions happened in the thylakoid membranes. And then the Calvin cycle happens in the stroma around the thylakoids. And that water and light are used in the light reactions. Waste product, oxygen, is made. The main product, ATP and NADPH, is made. Those go into the Calvin cycle with carbon dioxide to make G3P. And then G3P is used to make all kinds of things, right? Sugars that can be used for cellular respiration, that can be used to make cell walls, that can be used to store later as starch, or to make other things like proteins and lipids and nucleic acids. So this is really important, this G3P molecule that is made. And then the byproduct, the NADPH is turned back into NADP plus, and the ATP is turned into ADP plus phosphate, which goes back into the light reactions to come back around again. And that is photosynthesis.